Today we will create this weather app using Open Weather Map API. The app will be using JSON with a sync and await to fetch the weather and populate the view. For example, if you wanted to search for the weather in Cape Town, we just type in Cape Town, click on Celsius and it displays the temperature in Celsius, and then we can do the same thing for Paris. You can select Celsius, Fahrenheit or Kelvin, and for Paris there's a temperature 7.4 Celsius. And also we can do the same thing for London to check the weather. Type in London, select Celsius, and here's the temperature and other descriptions that come with it, the humidity, the wind speed. So this is the application we're creating in this tutorial. To use Open Weather Map API, you need to register on openweathermap.org to obtain your API key. The Open Weather Map API returns this JSON payload. The information we'll be extracting from the payload includes the following: the name, which includes the city name or the country name. We'll be extracting that key, and also we need to extract the temperature, which is here, and the humidity. And we also need to extract the wind speed, which is here in this struct. Within your Xcode project, create a new file called weather response. The next thing we need to do is to create our structs so that we can pass and extract the key value pairs from the Open Weather API. Type in struct weather model codable let name string let main weather info. We'll be creating that later. That object. Let weather with weather description. And that will be an array of weather description. Let wind equals, colon wind info. Now we need to create our main weather info struct main weather info. It's codable. Let temp double, let humidity double, And now we need to create our weather description strut. Weather description, codable, let description, string, let icon, string, strut, wind, info, codable, let speed, double. I'll just compile it. Now we have to create our weather service class so that we can interact with the API. Just select Swift file, click on next. Enter the name of the class called weather service. And then just click on create. Then we just create our class weather service. So that's an empty class at the moment. Now we need to create our enum temperature, temperature unit, string, case, iterable. That means we can loop through each of the cases of the enum. Case, Celsius, case, Fahrenheit, case, Kelvin. We also need to create another enum to capture when there's a decoding error or some type of error happens. Enum weather error case invalid URL in case decoding error. Now within our weather service class we need to assign our API key, but you have to use your own API key because my API key won't work for you. The next thing we need to do is to create another variable to hold the URL. We just call this space URL. And the URL is https://api.openweathermap.org data 2.5. The endpoint is weather. Now we need to create our method to fetch the temperature. Let's type in fetch weather city string and the units, temperature units, async throws weather model. This function fetch weather, what it will do, it will fetch the weather data for a specified city and a temperature. The next thing we need to do is to construct the URL. That will include the city and the API key and the desired temperature unit such as Kelvin, Celsius or Fahrenheit for the actual unit, temperature units. So we just type in encoded city equals city dot add percent encoding with allowed characters. Dot URL query allowed. Let URL equals URL string base URL question mark Q encoded city ampersand app ID equals, and then we apply our API key ampersand units, but it should be units equals unit dot raw value. Else, if there's some type of error, we just throw the error back to the calling methods, throw weather error dot invalid URL. The purpose of using the function add percentage encoding is that it will enable the user to type in spaces for their city or their country that they want the temperature for. So they can type in spaces within their text field. And then the URL will always return the correct data. The correct response will always be returned. The next thing we need to do is to make the API request to do an actual call. So just type in let data equals try await URL session shared data. Data from URL. And now we need to decode our data so that we can access the data within our objects. Let weather equals try JSON decoder decode weather model self from data. So what that does, we're just getting the decoded data as an object using weather.self. So it's not an array or a dictionary, it's just one single record, one single result, but within an object. Return weather catch throw weather error dot decoding error. So that's what happens if there's a decoding error. It will be thrown back to the caller. I'll just compile it. To include some separation of concern, next week we'll be implementing the weather view model. Thank you for joining us. If you found this tutorial helpful, please comment, like and subscribe. See you next week.